The original ark was gifted to the earth and its humanity eons ago. It was translated from a planet inside the blue star Rigel in the constellation of Orion. One of the purposes of this gift was to aid in the rebalancing of the supramagnetic sheaths of this planet and thereby realigning them more closely to their mother realm of the blue star. The higher energy sheaths of Earth and Venus did not originate in this solar system, but were projected from the blue star Rigel in Orion. The ancients called this first ark the Sacred On. My Inner Planes mentor Thoth has referred to it as the Ark of Grace. The greater purpose and function of the Sacred On was to act as a conduit for high-frequency signals sent from a device in Rigel to Earth, which radiated the light and perfection, as it was called, of the original divine template of mankind. This light and perfection Thoth also has referred to as the inscription of light, which is self-inscribing within the heart of all human beings and which connects us to the All. However, he has also revealed to me that humanity separated from the inscription of light. They did not leave it. One cannot leave something that is at the core of their very existence, but they removed their focus of intelligence away from it, and therefore their consciousness was separated from it. Yet it still burns for each and every one of us in the center of our hearts. The Sacred On was sent to aid humanity at a very crucial and difficult time. The planet was in great turmoil. Consciousness vectors were changing, causing a restructuring of the geophysical Earth. Our DNA was suffering from this shift as well. People were becoming more in command of personal will, and thus more division of thought and desire were manifesting within the mass consciousness. In those days, the Sun-born lived among us. They were humans who had strong ultra-terrestrial, that's illuminated off-planet, genetics mixed with human races. They lived much longer than ordinary humans of that age. They were taller, stronger, and more physically radiant. A Sun-born was obviously different on sight than other humans. They were kind, good, and very loving. Yet they were somewhat set aside by the populace for obvious reasons of difference. It was the Sun-born who granted guardianship and operation of the Sacred On for the Earth and all humanity. These Sun-born are kindred of ours. They share our genetics. It was in the temple of Akirana, in what is now Lhasa, Tibet, that the Sacred On was delivered. A special chamber was prepared for it there. The actual On was inside a box. It was never outwardly revealed to anyone but the guardians, priests, and priestesses of On. The outer casing and winged creatures were fashioned in Akirana by the sun-born craft of the brazen serpent. The On box itself contains the alchemical golden plates similar to the ones on the panel behind the ark, but not identical. Instead, they face-matched with the thresholding plates. These plates inside the ark box contain what Thoth calls the alphabet of the ark. Second were the 5 conducting terminals, or gemstone quill scrolls. And third, the Katim sphere, which contains within it a duplication of the feminine human heart triple poles. While men have 1 heart node, women have 3. The winged beings on the casing help to control the modulations with the actual On box by positioning of the wings. In addition to the problems most humans had in touching or handling or even being in the presence of large amounts of alchemical gold when coming into physical contact with the light and perfection frequency of the entire Sacred On energy device, such a contact would reverse the electromagnetic current in an ordinary human male body, causing the heart to stop immediately. This was due to the fact that most humans cannot maintain life current without the electromagnetic flow. It had no ill effect on the sun-born who did not actually rely on the electromagnetic current. Most human women, while perhaps somewhat affected by touching the On, would not receive a serious current reversal of their electromagnetic energies for the simple biological reason that they were on the same wavelength as the Katim sphere inside the On. When sun-born males guardianed the sacred On, it was the priestesses of On who operated it and became living oracles when necessary for the transmissions received through it. Shortly before the destruction of Atlantis, Thoth, race-miss of Afra, was informed by the high priestess of On that the ark must be moved to Atlantis in hopes of stabilizing that continent. It had to be carried over land and by ship over sea by Thoth and his companions rather than be transported via light Merkaba, as the On had to move across certain ley lines of the earth to then rest at the acupoint of Atlantis. Thoth and his companions made the journey with the On to Atlantis, while the new thresholding chamber was being prepared for it there. When it became apparent to Thoth that the sacred On would not stay the hand of fate, and Atlantis would soon be no more, he then transported the On to Egypt, where it eventually came into the keeping of the Syrian being Menon, and was housed in a special thresholding chamber inside Mount Sinai, which is now called Mount Moses by the Egyptians. The On had been kept in this thresholding chamber once before, and then returned to its chamber in Tibet. Understand that the sacred On adjusts and heals the planet by moving it across and placing it on various earth aculines and points. Centuries later, Moses, the son of Akhenaten, who were both adepts of the solar mysteries, came to the mountain to claim the sacred On for the promised land. However, it was made known to him through the obvious actions of the people he shepherded on this journey that they would not be able to abide the high frequencies of the On. It was at this point that Moses made the decision to create another ark, one that operated at frequencies that would be more beneficial to the people he shepherded and to the plan laid out before his etheric vision of the promised land. This second ark Thoth referred to as the Ark of Karma. Since the Hebrew priests of that age did not condone a woman to be in the presence of holy objects of power, such as the sacred On, they adamantly would not accept that only a woman, or a woman at all, could handle and be the oracle for the ark. To this point Moses condescended, as he was conflicted in his own feelings about the matter, and also he felt that without the cooperation of the priests, the ark would be of no use to the plan which he envisioned. So the second ark was adjusted in order for the priests to be able to interact with it. It was a wooden box with gold plating only. Some of the gold was alchemical, having been transported with them from an Egyptian temple, but it was mixed with gold mined from the earth. The Katim sphere was somewhat duplicated, but a certain component was not included, so that the priests could more easily work with the ark. The rest of the internal mechanism was also duplicated in a fashion, but it wasn't until King Solomon's reign that the Ark of Karma was given a true gemstone scroll. Solomon then had 4 other arks created, each housing a separate scroll, so that there were 5 in all. These arks worked with the main sacred On, Ark of Grace, at a distance. From Moses' day on through Solomon's into the current age, were women never again allowed near any of the arks, with the one exception being the sacred On. Yet the sacred On and its offshoot arks are still with us. The prototypes are guardianed at various places, but the sacred On itself is now within Mount Challenger, which Thoth calls Creston the Stone, in Crestone, Colorado. There are priests and priestesses of On holding vigil with this object, and continue to administer the light and perfection it radiates. Of course, we need no physical objects to unite with the light and perfection within. Still, such sacred tools do serve a purpose in aiding us along that journey to acknowledgement of that reunion. Thoth speaks. I, as Thoth Rasmus, had brought the An from Tibet to Atlantis, and later to Egypt. It would come into the care of the Syrian master Menon. In the days of Menon, the Ark of An was within the thresholding chamber inside the Al-Kabar mountain, Mount Moses. Near this mountain was a compound of temples and grounds known as the An Sofur. Here in the An Sofur, the priests and priestesses of the Ark communed with the Kyros, the illumined mind, through the transmissions of the An. While the priests managed translations from the oracle priestesses and taught practices for those who entered the school to learn how to create the ark of the body, it was the priestesses who were the ark oracles and more. They held the light codes of the An within them. In a sense, they were living arks, as the An installed in their human energy field a replication of itself in hollow form. It was only the priestesses who could come within close proximity to the An without physical distress, or touch it without harm to them. The Ark priestesses, or Kyrosatim, chosen by the illumined mind, would sit upon the kur, or mercy seat, of the An. Originally, the An did not have this seat. In Tibet, the Kyrosatim touched the Ark directly, but as the magnetic field of the planet changed, this practice began to cause them a degree of illness when performing this task repeatedly. In Atlantis, Thoth built the Kur seat, which was attached to the An. It was made to distribute the energy of the An more equally into the body.
Sacred symbols are inscribed upon alchemically altered golden plates which line the sacred An, or Ark of Grace. These sacred symbols have correspondent vocables which were given to me and called the alphabet of the Ark. There are several versions or levels of these correspondent symbols and vocables, of which energetically spin off of the symbols inscribed on the golden plates of the sacred An. Each of these symbols and vocables have an angelic energy which is associated with it. The alphabet of the Ark is part of the language of Metatron, an archangelic alphabet. In the historic Kabbalah, there is mention of something called eye writings, or Kitav Inayim. According to Thoth, the divine language form represented in the alphabet of the Ark is contained within the matrix of this greater archangelic flame script. The actual eye writings are composed of circles and lines in the form of small flames, an encoding of sorts. The symbolic keys to moving into the higher worlds of consciousness lie within this archangelic alphabet. This alphabet, or series of symbol codes, is representative of the higher template for creation. The higher intelligences, such as the Elohim creator beings, use this template to project the elements of life itself into creations such as the planet Earth.